Curated Consciousness, episode 1. Decided to talk about fascia today. I've been digging into it a lot as intelligence and hold information, and we can also move information in and out of our body through it.
You say that, I'm thinking, well, where do they even get this idea from? And then there are ideas and habits I have that my body's holding on to because they think that they're what soothes me, but they're not actually my natural state. They were just forced there by maybe fight or flight or programming from outside sources, right? So, how does that play into when we want to release our fascia or heal our fascia?
Yeah, and also, why do we even care? I mean, what I'm learning about fascia is that it's directly connected to how we can expand our consciousness and awareness in the world. That anytime I stretch my fascia, I can have little aha moments and releases in my body. And that really using something as simple as yoga or stretching as a way to expand my awareness and my consciousness into new ideas and new understandings, new identities.
Interesting, because I've been thinking more in my body about when I do like find that stretch, I find that release. Why do I have that tightness in the first place? And part of me wonders, hey, am I holding on to a piece of shame or something that I was told was wrong, but really it wasn't? That's not in alignment with me. Am I holding that and then needing to let it go through these practices? Is my fascia holding on to shame, holding on to pain that doesn't need to?
Or wherever there's tightness, like sometimes we feel tight in the shoulders or in the hips. And then how can I lean into that and kind of move that around? And that fascia is really like the reason why yoga feels good. It's the reason why massage feels good. It's the reason why anytime we do little stretches, even just in the car after a long drive, when you go to stretch your arms up overhead, how good that feels in the body of holding a particular position for a long period of time, and just how important this is to not just consciousness and developing it and expanding it, but also in longevity and wellness body.
It's almost a way to release control of every moment. Does that sound right? Does that sound like there's something that could be explored there?
Yeah. When the fascia gets all tight or we get a cramp or, like I have this thing on my foot that sometimes when I'm in a yoga practice and I'm trying to do something really difficult, my toes will go numb, my pinky toe, and they'll get really straight. And then I have to wait for it to release. And that's definitely a fascial thing going on. I have a nerve thing going on. And that's an opportunity for me to work with that. And like, why does this happen? Maybe I move too quickly or I'm going at it too hard, and I can get that biofeedback from my body directly.
Mm, interesting.
What does everybody need to know about fascia?
Cool. So I think a lot of people think when they're moving in their body that they know about big muscle groups, right? They know like, hey, I'm doing this and my quads are working, my glutes are working. But I think what people don't realize is that just like we talk about props, just like in the real world, we talk about having supports outside, there are places in your body that your fascia actually will work together in lines of the body instead of having to be isolated. Like it doesn't have to do it alone. When I'm going for a hard pose, and you're saying your foot hurts, well, what part of your fascia aren't you using in that chain that relates to it, right? Where can you release? Where can you let up? Where can we add more? And it all comes down, like to me, everything lately balance, right? How can I balance that through my body so I'm not all forcing it into one spot or another? I think people don't realize that even though muscle groups work, when these muscle groups work, they're also working in a way to let an entire line of fascia work with it. And I think a lot of people don't realize how important it is to say, hey, look, the top of my feet actually can help me if I'm holding too much tension in my jaw. My hips can help me if I'm really holding too much tension in my jaw. They kind of feed off each other, right? In other ways, it's all connected.
Yeah. Wraps around all your organs, all your bones, all the nerve endings. It's the connective tissue that creates the structure of what your body looks like, right? Like we have general shapes that bodies look like. And so it's the fascia that holds this form. And then, um, and then from there, we can move towards, well, if I want to change something, if I want to change, maybe it's not my body physically that I want to change. Maybe it's a behavior or a pattern or an identity. Well, it benefits anybody to know that if I work on my fascia, just stretching, then it helps with that because it's connected. It's helping the feedback system get to my brain better, get to my nerves better, right? My nerves can pick up information better if the fascia around it is really smooth and supple and hydrated versus if it's all knotted up and maybe has holes or tears or bunched up somewhere. Am I making sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. 'Cause, like, even if you're holding pain in an area, like that fascia is now working. It's holding weird gumped up things. And now your brain is like, am I in pain? Do I need to watch my shoulder that I'm holding on to? And that's taking some of your computing power, making you more exhausted. Whereas if, hey, my fascia is released, my body's good, my brain can fire on all cylinders. It doesn't have to be in fight or flight. It doesn't have to be overwhelmed with this guarding of pain that we feel like we need to guard as much if we would just kind of figure out how to work with it and let it find softness as well.
Right. You had a story about humming, didn't you?
I
Does that
did.
relate to fascia?
Because the vagus nerve is part of the fascia system, right?
Well, it's a nerve, and so it is also the vagus nerve is the longest nerve in your body, and it is reft also in fascia. And the vagus nerve is the only thing that goes through your diaphragm, which separates the middle of your body, right? It's what we breathe with. And so vagus nerve is super important in the body, and it's also interconnected with our fascia, our connective tissue. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was teaching somebody the other day, and they were like, I don't know what to do in class and yoga classes because sometimes when I'm home and I feel stuck, I hum. And it was somebody who I just started teaching very recently. And I'm like, and it was gym yoga, so maybe I haven't done it there as much, but I'm like, dude, like, my man, there's a name for like that is called Brahmari. Like that is yoga. That is now I find myself if I have tension in my head and my jaw, my sinuses, and I feel like my head is just holding on for dear life. Maybe I've been using the screen too much, my face can't. Brahmari is like where it's at, right? Like just that gentle vibration to let the fascia move and get a little bit unstuck. And then to let the nerves kind of move within the fascia, right? Because the fascia clings to us like almost like one of those loofah sponges. You know, have you seen people use that? Like,
Yeah, think of like spandex where you pull it up and it snaps right back. Is that what you mean?
and it kind of has little holes, but it also goes everywhere. Kind of like those, what are those loofahs you can grow that like are actually real? You know what I'm talking about? Like a pantyhose or spandex, right? You pick it up and you get these little holes in it because it overstretches. And they get these little runs in them. And then like, just like we used to put the nail polish on them in the 90s to save them, our body's like, oh, let me just patch some more trash on top of this. And so then it's like, oh, we're stuffed now. It's almost like fixing your body with duct tape instead of taking the time to be like, okay, let me grow it back together slowly, right? That's why everything takes time. That's why sometimes you do have an injury someplace or you can't release someplace. Think about where else is connected to in your body that you're overusing or making up for it that it can't actually heal. And gosh, if you hurt certain places, like I haven't been using my diaphragm properly. Most women have a hard time with it for a while after childbirth. But think about that fascia is like diaphragm's jammed up in my fascia is like, oh, we'll hold it here during the baby and after. And now you're telling me that my vagus nerve is in there. No wonder like women are dysregulated after they give birth, right? Like the fascia is like, I'm just gonna hold you all right here. And the vagus nerve is like, okay, well, maybe you can find me, maybe you can't. Maybe I'm just stuck in here, right? Like, but it's like that stuckness that we feel is more in our body than we even know.
What this is reminding me of is there's this concept of as above, so below, as within, so without. And you're describing this fascial pattern that is created or misformed pattern that can be created due to just life experiences. Think of getting in a car accident or having a child or overwork at a strenuous, type of job and then leaving that work. Or there's this pattern that's coding everything. I mean, if I take this concept of as above, so below, and I take this idea that my fascia has a healthy pattern, right, where it's supple and well hydrated, it's a nice netting, you can pull it up and it contracts right back, versus some misshapen pattern, right, due to life experiences that may be out of my control entirely, then if I apply this concept to it, then if my pattern is disformed on the inside, maybe this can correlate to some of the mispatterning that's happening on the outside of my life. Here with this idea that's very well known as above, so below, as within, so without, that if I can fix my pattern, right, do some compression work or stretching, things like that, fascial release techniques, then I'm changing the pattern of my fascia on the inside, this intelligence that is listening to us and sending these biofeedback indicators to our brain through the nervous system and through our organs and our bones and everything, then I can start changing from the inside out, literally.
I'm trying not to say interesting again. There is like a balance, right? That's when we talk about a balance, because some of this work definitely can be done mentally. It can definitely be done through talk therapy. It can be done through, different ABA therapy, different trauma-informed therapies.
Right, because the fascia is listening. So if I'm doing talk therapy, that can't work.
It's going to work. But at the same time, if we find a balance, because some of us don't need to talk that much. Like my fascia is all jacked up here because I've spent too much of my life talking.
Or some of us have no words.
Right.
What we've experienced.
Right. Sometimes I've found lately, as you said to me lately, hey, have you noticed that every time you don't know what to say, you're just like, I'm going to cry. It's like my body knows it needs to release something, but how to describe it or the act of describing it is too much, but there is a release. So can I balance out and that's where I think the self-care comes in. Can I balance out how much I'm talking things out, how much I'm spending time alone, right? Like as above, so below, I have to be able to spend time with myself and my body, but I also need sense of community. And so some of these things are other people helping us work on it. Some of us is us working out on ourselves. That's why some people, I think, like doing yoga in a studio, because there's somebody kind of letting me numb out and say, hey, let's try this and see if it releases anything in your body today. And if your body says, yeah, keep going that direction, we go that direction, right? So it allows us more of I can't do it all in my head and I can't do it all in my body, because if not, they're going to be out of balance. Like, how can I find that mix of, I need to work some of it out, but also, hey, my body can actually heal this too.
Well, yeah, then there's a next step. I mean, even if I get my fascia patterning like in a pretty good space, right? My body shape maybe starts changing or maybe not going back to the way it was, but finding a new form because of this new structure that I'm forming through my fascial work. I could then run into the problem that changes aren't maybe happening as quickly as I'd like. And I may have to address it mentally, reprogram on a mental level to help my consciousness expand into this new patterning. Because I could have those mental blocks show up. And then that's a whole nother topic, really. But that, this is the work of being an individualized human being that wants to be healthy and in wellness. And it looks so different than what we've been taught in Western society anyway, through our medical system on what individualized work. I can't tell somebody what part of their fascia is tied up. I can maybe get some clues based on how their body is shaped and how things are holding in. You know what I mean? I remember when you first had your daughter, and you were trying to change the shape of how you looked, right? Trying to lose this weight and stuff. And I said that you needed to do more breath work because I could see that there was this big hang up around your diaphragm, right? And when you were breathing, it was kind of stagnant. She wasn't going in and out. And so I offered that to you. I was like, hey, try some different breath work practices and see what helps get that diaphragmatic area going in and out, like the pumping sensation that's supposed to happen when we're breathing with our diaphragm. And so it's individualized, and it's something that they have to figure out some of it on their own, find teachers that give space to and different types of techniques to try. And a lot of times it'll be like some kind of weird combination that maybe you improvise based on what you've been taught. Like I know you've been doing some of that, right? Coming up kind of with your own fascial release technique.
Yeah. Because like this massage feels good and this yoga pose feels good. So I'm like, all right, let me go sit in yin and try to like put this myofascia ball here and see if I can do two at once, right? Because it's painful. Once you start settling the fascia in, you get used to the areas of pain almost like I feel like you can turn them off, right? So nursing, pregnant, I was used to going like this for years, right? Now I'm trying to sit with my shoulder blades on my back and sit up tall and have my posture back. But I never realized that, oh, well, when I did this, my outer hips turned off, my toes turned off. So my fascia was just kind of holding in place instead of my muscles even working.
Mm-hmm.
So it's at the same time as nobody is going to have the exact same experiences as me in their body and their mind. And so the places I'm trying to protect myself, now the pain is moving. It's exhausting, but it's freeing at the same time. But trying to find like, hey, this worked here, this worked here. What else can I find that works? And finding those pieces. And I feel like, yeah, it's about finding the pieces. I keep going into this little store up in Phoebus to get juices when I feel like I need to juice cleanse or I need more vitamin C. And the girl the other day, she said, be your own doctor. Like you have to know enough about your body to advocate, to know if there's actually something wrong, to know if it is in your head. Because I don't think that everybody's putting it in their head. But I know me, some of the stuff is definitely more in my head because I'm hyper focusing on it.
I can also think about the fact that, well, you know, going back to my oyster farming, right? I did that for 14 years. I was out on the water doing manual labor, kind of beating myself up a little bit, but loving every second of it because I love being out there, but still is very physically demanding. And that when I left that environment, it took almost, you know, I'm about 6 years out of that industry. And I can say right now, I'm pretty close to having a lot of that tension released. And believe it or not, actually, a lot of it was held in my face. I do this facial, she was doing extraction. And, you know, when I was doing all this oyster work, I'd get very dirty. My face would get dirty, water would splash on my face, and all these things. And I went in for this like extraction and this facial, and she's like extracting stuff out of my face, and I'm bawling so much that she brought in her dog to sit with me because I said to her, like, I feel like you're cleaning out 14 years of me doing this thing that was really hard that I'm now not doing anymore. And it was just, and by the third time, I was not crying. And it actually, and my face felt clear. And I felt like I could emote more from my face, like more expressive. It was really interesting. And then now I'm sort of working on, I'm still holding a lot in my hips. You know, I have some misshapen, like piriformis tightening going on in my glutes. And I think that that's kind of my next job, right? It's kind of work my way.
Because some stuff we don't even realize we've been hanging on to since we were.
I can't rush it. I have to go step by step. And, you know, and that's just how it is.
One of my big phrases earlier this year that I probably need to remind myself of that you just remind me of. Rest is part of that process. Like it has to reintegrate, right? That's
Absolutely.
in the yogi world, that's shavasana. We reintegrate. You have to let it all come back in with the breath, right? Like whatever I've been holding on to, can I breathe through it now? Right. And that's the beauty of the breath and the way to maybe going forward, maybe you help fascia more now by breathing into it and not tightening it when we can help it, right? Because lots of times we're programmed to what we think somebody else is going to do. The problem is that we never actually know what they're going to do, but we'll tense up. We'll hold the places that create fear in us. We'll, you know, either throw something back to deflect or we'll take it into our own body instead of just letting things unfold.
Nature has it figured out. You know, I remember watching this documentary on, you know, it was like a wildlife Animal Planet thing or something. And this zebra escaped an attack from a lion, which is very difficult, right? It got away though. Something happened and the tigers or the lion stumbled and it got into some bush and it got away, right? And the first thing that this zebra did is it shook. It shook its skin, it flared its hair, it rocked its head side to side, it swished its tail, and it did it for about as long as the chase. And then it walked away and it was fine because they have a similar nervous system. And if we just got put through it, right, adrenaline spike and, this big traumatic thing happened, it behooves all of us to immediately after that spend just as much time as it took to go through that to shake it off, literally, right? And that could be going to yoga classes. It could be going to the gym. It could be running or walking or crying. I mean, I've said this a million times. Outflow is outflow. I mean, shaking what the zebra did was outflowing and literally just shaking off the experience. And I know all of us have a bunch of that pent up in us where we didn't shake it off. We didn't go through that process. And so there's this backlog. And I think fascial release, yoga, expanding our consciousness all helps with that.
For sure. The connectivity, the community, the internal calm, the being calm together in community. So just working towards finding that peace everywhere to just raise everyone up together. Yeah. Because like in the forest, you're right. I saw that you're talking about the zebra, but I saw a thing the other day where they recorded like the tunes from like the vibrations from plants in the forest and what people were talking to. Yes. And then when you touch them and you were nicer, they made music, right? Because like there is energy, it's connected, it's all right. Nature does have it right. And we are doing the best we can. And it seems like we're recreating, but it's really just going back down to instincts. I saw something recently where what do people say when they're angry? I used to say it all the time. Not the best thing, not in my best days, but I want to punch you in the face. Like I said it, I never punched anybody in the face, but that is the feeling I wanted to do to release anger. Mm-hmm. I saw something recently, some ladies like, if you want to release anger, make fists, bring your knuckles together and push them in towards each other. Like just push that energy somewhere. Now that innate feeling you have to want to punch something, push it against yourself, feel the release, feel all the pressure come to your hands, see if you can take that anger from wherever you're holding it, and then immediately just drop your arms, let it go, and then notice the wave of whatever. So how can we take our initial biological responses or our mental responses, trust them, but use them in a safe way to help release those things?
I love this. If everybody likes this conversation, we're going to be doing these once a week. Tune in for more.
Yeah, let us know if there's something that you want to hear us rant about, right?